This is episode 17 of the H2H Sales Automation podcast on HubSpot enablement. Is implementation worth the investment?
Let's build a business based on H to H, not B2B, but human to human sales and marketing automation. A human approach is the only one that sells.
Hello everyone and welcome to our show. My name is Bart and I invite guests for a short 20 minutes interview to inspire you and improve your business the human way. Today I'd like to welcome Stephen Tomlin, our account executive at Automate Now. Welcome to the show, Stephen.
Oh, thank you very much. It's good to be here, and yeah, thanks everyone for listening.
So Stephen is responsible to actually with a conversation with a client about how to start with CRM. I think one of the first comment that is coming to my mind is actually the having a CRM in the business is serious business transformation for many.
Yeah.
What's your take, Stephen, on that? When you speak with a client and they come to you starting conversation about the HubSpot, what they think about,
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I think a lot of businesses don't, I guess, step back from the fact and think, okay, like what are the implications of me implementing right now? Because you have to put a plan together, not only of how to implement, but like when to implement. How do we make people's time the most efficient? Because when it comes to cost, like you need to get all these things in order. Otherwise, if you're not maximizing people's time, obviously you pay per hour for the amount of heads. So it quickly adds up, really. So I think people or businesses and the leadership team don't necessarily think of it like that. They're just like, oh yeah, it's fine. We're just we're a bit quiet now. We can do this, but next month might not be as quiet. You need to dig into the resource, what you have available now, but also what's upcoming. Not only in like from a sales capacity, but like I guess from holiday perspective and things like that. All these considerations need to be thought out and communicated across the business in the right way, because if you tell a story of why you're implementing in a negative light, then there might be friction and pushback during that implementation period and adoption period as well.
100%. Tell the story. It all depends on the teams and size of the business. As a general rule, perception of having a CRM is different depending on people, depending on their knowledge of tech. But the good story will definitely bring good vibes within the business. But let's talk about this enablement piece, because the CRM and implementation, when you come to the system, then obviously you've got the license bits. Then we as a partner are coming to the partner to the client and say, you know what, if you want to implement our system, it's XYZ costs.
Yeah.
Then there is a little onboarding piece, plenty of training materials. I think like the business owners or decision makers can be a little bit overwhelmed with what is going on. So how do you, is the HubSpot implementation worth it?
Yes. It's a common question that I get, and 100%, because even if you've done successful implementations in the past and you understand, I guess, the processes, or I'm going to call it framework to generally follow. Obviously, when you adopt a new platform, you don't know what you don't know. So there's going to be gaps. And if you miss them, then you have to revisit things later on. Or perhaps, it may prolong the implementation period. So I think, partnering with someone who has a framework that can track from your objectives of implementing HubSpot. How are we sort of tracking against that? Are we on time? Are people adopting it correctly? And each component of that puzzle, like, are we actually making steps towards our goal? Because without that hand-holding experience, it's easy to get lost in the process and lose sight of what you're actually there to do.
I really like your idea, hand-holding experience. It's a little bit like that, isn't it? With anything new, like we as a humans, we take a little bit of risk with everything. Like when you're born, and you need to take a risk to actually, to walk. and then to eat, maybe and then that help is, it's like parent mother kind of relationship, isn't it? With the
Exactly.
client, and then eventually we would like to have this little boy or girl just walk on their own, isn't it? And that's it's my opinion that kind of transformation before what you have now and where you want to be with CRM, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. And I like the father and mother sort of analogy that you just gave, because even if you've got all the right on paper, if you've got all the steps, there's friction between people, right? And if you come in from an outside perspective, it's easy to say, okay, everyone in the room, it's your turn to talk now, um, to really, I guess, draw the most value from that session, get everybody to have a chance talking, because if people don't get on, or one person tends to overpower the rest in conversation, then it's hard to, if you the reasons why you implement HubSpot is break down data silos, break down silos between the different departments, yet one still overpowering during that process, then it's not going to work. Like, everybody needs to get their ideas on the table and build a fluent process that everybody agrees on. So having that external support to remember, okay, this is the vision, like, and just take everybody back for a second. Yeah, it just makes the process a lot easier.
Excellent. I think this is also a great idea to actually put together the teams. Quite often we're working remotely with different agendas and so on, but having a new system such as CRM, such as HubSpot, will like kind of reinvent everything, reinvent processes, systems, finding the gaps. I think is a kind of audit type of new fresh start, if you like.
Yep.
And that's what we're seeing with the customers. Now, coming back to a question about onboarding versus implementation, can you clarify our listeners what in terms of the HubSpot specifically, what is the difference?
It's a really good question. This comes up like every other call that I have. So the easiest analogy, or the way I can describe it, is, when you purchase something from IKEA, right? So you buy the materials, right? If we talk about onboarding first, onboarding is like, you wanna build a house, so you order the materials, right? So you've got all the building materials there on the plot of land that you've got, and then it comes with like an IKEA booklet, how to, right? That's onboarding. So you purchase the software, and then onboarding is where you get a representative like ourselves or directly from HubSpot who would assign you IKEA booklets or self-help videos on how to build what you're looking to build, the house, right? But it's going to take time, effort. That it's going to be a painful process unless you're wired like that and you enjoy things and you enjoy to do things like that. If you don't have a team of people, and you've got the time to invest into onboarding, then yes, I think that option may be right for you. If you can, if you've got the time, if you run a very small business, that may be the route for you. But if you have, I'm going to say, more than, I don't know, even like 3 or 4 people, implementation is going to be beneficial, because not only do you get them building materials, but you have somebody to, I guess, consult firstly. Okay, so what kind of house are you looking for? They're going to build the architecture of the house. They're going to tell you the type of materials that you have, if to return certain components based on the look and feel and how you want your house designed, because the structure needs to be strong. So in context of that, it would be the blueprint phase of HubSpot. They're going to help design, okay, this is where you want to go. These are your options on how to get there. What context do you have? Like, how do your process run as is? Then we can start to pick out the different systems that need to be connected together. So what I'm trying to say is, with the implementation, you get a very thought out design process that we call blueprint. We help validate your objectives, and what it's going to take to get there, how we can optimize that process in HubSpot, and then we build the platform for you. and then train you in context to what we build, as well as how to maintain that system moving forward. So yes, onboarding is a cheaper cost to entry, but you've got, it's going to take you a lot of time, stress, and everything to get that system in place. And then you've got, and you may have quick solutions, or you may build things, but they may be built incorrectly as well. And then implementation, you've got this hand-holding experience, this person to help you design everything, sign off on that, and then go to build, and then actually train you on them systems, as opposed to showing you videos or giving you a self-help IKEA booklet. So they are the main differences.
I really like this architecture versus building houses. I'm laughing when we moved as a family to the house where we now. Obviously, IKEA came first, and guess who did this? All of these wardrobes. It's unbelievable how many how many weekends I spent. Yes. And what's also interesting, and you might find the same, is when you start really working on something and you realize that it actually is other way around, upside down, so you need to unscrew things and what's supposed to take 2 hours, it takes you 2 days. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Exactly. And it's down to the size of your business. Have you got the time? Because if you're in the analogy of house building, if you're a single bloke or woman, let's say, then you've got the time, you can do it yourself. It may be stressful still, but it's just you. But if you've got a team of people, like you've got a family or with kids, you can't live in dust for and just nails and things everywhere for a period of time, so that's 100%. Where the implementation comes in.
100%. So final topic, I'd like to say, okay, let's say yes, I'm ready for that investment, and yes, I'd like someone to implement the HubSpot, to build this house, to build this basics, to do the blueprint, to build, basically to reinvent our business. Mm-hmm. Process. So what's the implementation process looks like in general, kind of high level terms, Stephen?
Yeah. So how it would work, we always start off with a kickoff call. So you get introduced to your delivery team. We'll briefly show you how your project's going to run in a project management system like ClickUp. So you'll easily see the different milestones, the different tasks within them milestones, and then the different activities that are going to happen to complete that task. And the reason why we do that is because everybody can see, okay, who needs to be on what session, what the agenda is going to be for that session, what homework or preparation you need to do for that session, and how long typically that period's gonna take. So after that, we typically do a general setup. So that's a plug and make sure that everything is tracking correctly within your HubSpot portal. And then we tend to move on to a buyer journey or blueprint phase, buyer journey workshop within the blueprint phase. And that is, imagine we do a customer touch point phase where we identify from a customer point of view what engagement, what touch points that they're going to receive as a customer or a prospect. And then we back off into, okay, what operational flow is required to be in place in order to fulfill that journey. And that may incorporate, okay, from when a lead comes in, what does that process look like to close one? What different systems does HubSpot need to talk to in order to fulfill that journey? And what does that process look like end to end? And then off the back of that, we can start to look at the data architecture. So looking at each of these different stages, what information do we need to collect in order to progress or naturally progress one person from the start to the finish of that process? And also, how can we segment data or where that person is within the data to identify where they are within that buying process? And the reason why we do that is because then that feeds marketing or automation to help you with follow-ups, reminders, different campaigns. The world's your oyster at that point, really. And depending on what type of packages you have, we can look at like revenue attribution for your marketing investment. We can look at, speed in like sales enablement. Like we're blueprinting the whole thing, looking at, okay, what different teams do you have? What do they generally struggle with? We'll map out the whole thing. Once that's been mapped out and signed off, we then go to a configuration phase where we build. So that may be, the building of the blueprint that we put in place. And then there's enablement piece where we train you on what's been built. And we also train you on how to manage the portal or make alterations moving forward as well. So the cost of ownership can be in-house, but if you're too busy, then we can do quarterly, monthly audits just to make sure that you're utilizing HubSpot in the best way as well.
That's comprehensive, guys. Stephen, thank you for sharing. Question is like, how long would that take? What's the timeline here?
So because we have a tried and tested process, implementation can take anywhere between, I'm going to say 6 to 12 weeks, depending on your availability, the partner's availability as well. So yeah, so I'd say 6 to 12 weeks is a good amount of time.
Yeah, brilliant. I think it's the time within a business that implementation it's quite a big change within a business, and for the implementation perspective, me as a founder of the business also can see like, yeah, let's build also someone who will be a leader within a team who will understand from upside down, the system and what we are doing. Typically maybe owner for the smaller business, for the bigger business, depending, like probably someone from the business development perspective who will say, okay, right, we're doing this, and just understanding like what actually is there is not only from the perspective of one angle, which is sales or marketing, but as you rightly said, buyer journey. Love the analogy, and I think it's the kind of we're leaning towards 20 minutes really. So the question is like, obviously tech is there, and I think this like the question to you is like about the enablement piece. So tech is there, the system like a HubSpot are brilliant. What can go wrong with implementation? When you go to this system, you've got it. What like 3 main kind of problems that you see when implementing HubSpot and how to avoid them?
I think most commonly implementation projects is normally digital transformation, in the sense that they're moving from like old, perhaps on-premise systems, and now they're looking to bring everything to a cloud-based solution. As part of that, HubSpot needs to collaborate or integrate with different systems. There's obviously different contract lengths on different things.
Yeah.
So it's what can go wrong is misalignment of the different components, the misalignment of the different technical architecture. And what I mean by that is, if a system cuts off in a month's time and you just get all, and you don't have access to that data, that can impact things massively. You then need to go through a negotiation period, or you go on a rolling contract from your existing provider, and that can become expensive. So, there may be additional costs associated that may be a surprise if you don't plan this correctly, which is something that we uncover in the blueprint. Maybe people leaving as well. So let's say if you're doing an onboarding, you invest in all this time in somebody who's sort of manning that or championing that project, and they leave, then that can put the company in a bad position. So it's important, like in the implementation process, we make sure we take several champions from different departments and make sure there's a couple people there who are sort of clued up in the system, so that we can mitigate that risk. Really, there are things that can go wrong with, I guess, internal conversations on how to achieve a certain goal, or losing sight of that goal. So you can effectively go round in circles if you're doing that yourself, because without having someone from an outside perspective come in, make sure like it doesn't matter who you are, like you coming in from new, you don't know them, all you know is this is the goal, and you've got a fresh perspective on
Yeah.
people's input and if it's actually going to help you achieve that goal. So they're just like three off the top of my head. There's a long list of things that can go wrong. It could be systems, like integrations. Like if it's your first time doing like a big integration project, there's a lot to know, there's a lot to learn. It's going to be, if it's your first one, it's going to be a painful process if you've if you don't have the right support, and a costly process. So I think, yeah, that's one of the not only reasons to use a specialist, but one of the big things that can go wrong as well.
Thank you, Stephen. I really like the most I like is that people leaving. Yeah, that's one of the major issues. People like, one leader is leaving, nobody knows what is in there, and that's the downside. I believe, like, let's keep the context of the building the house and what it could go wrong. It's plenty of different things. Like, starting from choosing wrong materials. Like in theory that sink should fit this place, and then finally, like, you didn't take into consideration something else. So I would say, like, that because of complexity of implementation of any kind, not only CRM, it's difficult to exactly predict what could be there, and up to the point when you start things, and then you see, oh wow, this is the gap, this is the place. So I also suggest to have approach, do it and improve it, rather than just wait for the better future or better place. I think that's do it thing is, and that kind of attitude will help to change and transform much more quicker, rather than just wait for, like, I don't know, for new leader who will join and understand all of this in the system. Final question, Stephen, and I ask all of my interviewers. You're in the sales, you love selling, and this channel is called, obviously, Age to Age, which stands for human to human. So how do you sell while maintaining a human touch?
Honestly, this may sound like a cop-out answer, but I genuinely love selling. The reason being is because I meet so many diverse people. Everyone's got their own story, their own background, and I'm not only absorbed in obviously the solution that I sell, and how it can help their business, but also I invest in them as a person, right? So I love understanding, like, where you've come from, how you've got here to the person that you are today, and your vision, really, and what you're trying to achieve for you personally. And because I get behind that perspective, it's easy for me to remain human, to ask people, like, how's your day been, and that kind of thing. Like, really, yeah, I don't know, that kind of human to human just comes natural to me because I'm invested in them as opposed to just what I'm selling. But because I'm invested in both, it makes it easier because I don't lose sight of that.
Yeah.
That touch, how you doing? Okay, like, oh, how do you feel after that call? Because it was quite intense, and because for some people it's a very big investment, right?
Exactly.
It is, and it's a huge time investment. It doesn't only impact them as a business, but if they're spending extra hours, it's going to impact them at home too. So it's important to have them check-ins, and I think that's what people buy into, the human to human. It's not just, okay, yeah, I'll buy a product, thank you, like transactional. You may as well be a self-checkout at Tesco. It's that consultative approach, finding out, okay, you've got some an emergency that's planned, sure, let's just reschedule, that kind of thing. Like, remain human through the process. I know I went off tangent a bit there, but hopefully got the gist of what I was saying.
Definitely. I think it's having a skill to be a people person. This is what I take out of what you said. And in order to say like a human, you need to act like a human, you need to be people person, to like people, you need to be to basically like to ask the questions about the context, why, when, how, build that relationship. And I think very often at the scale it's tough to build a relationship, maybe more often in B2B rather than B2C environment. However, by recognizing that even some small questions, as you said, how are you, how you're getting on, how is life, And from the even owner perspective, plenty of problems, cash flows, people hiring, firing, that kind of recognizing this probably is helping to achieve the goal. Stephen, thank you very much. That was awesome. That's plenty of things that I have in here. Definitely recommend anyone who is, number one, is attempting to change the processes. Maybe specifically HubSpot, but I think this is the conversation relevant to any processes that implementing. And I hope you enjoyed the show.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Let's build a business based on H to H, not B2B, but human to human sales and marketing automation. A human approach is the only one that sells.